One thing Mercedes' big V-Class isn't short of is space. As a people carrier in the truest sense, its only real competition comes from other large van-based MPVs or public transport. This is the usefully revised version of the brand's W447 series model, and in using it, you might be on a shopping spree, heading out for a mountain bike holiday in the Alps, or driving prominent guests to a red carpet event. Either way, if you want to take up to 8 people and their luggage in a vehicle that makes a very high quality statement, then it's a difficult option to ignore.
Of all the super large MPVs on the market, this is the one that disguises its van-based underpinnings the best, especially in this revised form, thanks to its diesel engine and transmission transplant. That has seen the introduction of the brand's more refined and efficient OM654 Series 2-litre diesel engine, available in 2 states of tune for V-Class buyers. Here we're trying the 163 HP V220D variant that most will probably choose, but there is an alternative 239 horsepower V300D derivative that might appeal if you're regularly going to be carrying heavy loads. Both power plants now use a smooth 9G Tronic Plus 9-speed auto gearbox. The third alternative is the full electric EQV model, which has a 100 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery, developing a 201 horsepower total output, and which can offer a claimed driving range of 252 miles between charges. Mercedes has tried hard to optimise the ride and handling package that its biggest people carrier can offer, hence the standard agility select system that allows you to tweak the throttle response, the gear change timings, and the feedback from the direct steer speed sensitive steering to suit the way that you want your V-Class to respond. Plus there's agility control adaptive suspension, and that's a setup that's able to tweak the damping to suit road conditions. Ultimately, all these efforts aren't really enough to make the dynamic experience on offer here in any way rewarding, but the overall compromise is decently impressive by the moderate standards of the supersized MPV class anyway. Efficiency levels are reasonable too. This V220D variant is capable up to 47 miles per gallon on the WLTP combined cycle and 157 grams per kilometre of NEDC rated CO2. This apparently is the Mercedes amongst MPVs. Well, it certainly looks quite a bit grander than anything else on offer in the segment. As with other Mercedes cars, the front end treatment now differs according to whether you've paid the extra for plusher AMG line trim or not, but all variants get a subtle redesign for the grille, the bumper and the lower air intakes. Space, Mercedes tells V-Class customers, is the true definition of luxury, and on that basis this MPV must be very luxurious indeed, given its enormous square dimensions. Just how much space we're talking about here depends on the body style you choose. Now, this Mercedes comes in 3 sizes. Your starting point is the standard length 7-seater derivative, and that is 4,895 millimetres long, but most buyers tend to want the option of 8 seats, for which you have to choose one of the 2 bigger variants. Many choose this mid-range long version. Now, this one measures in at 5,140 millimetres. But there is also an extra long variant, which is an enormous 5,370 mils long, and that really is big. Right, we've seen enough out here. Let's take a look inside. Up front, you're treated to an agreeably high and commanding driving position. Look around and you'll be pleased to note that there's nothing particularly LCV-like about the opulently finished cabin, enhanced on this revised model by small changes to the design of the air vents and the instrument cluster dials. You get this lovely stitched dash top covering fashioned from man-made Artico leather, plus you're treated to Napa leather upholstered seats with armrests and discreet ambient lighting that can illuminate in a choice of 3 colours. In other words, it's as different in here from the Vito van as Mercedes could possibly make it. A pity though that mainstream diesel versions have to continue with the brand's old generation media tech. This means the need for a centre dash screen, which is either 7-inch or, as in this case, 8.4 inches in size. The larger displays a feature of the optional Command Online infotainment package. As you'd expect in an MPV, there's plenty of space to store stuff, but rearward vision is compromised by the third row seating, so you'll really need the standard parking sensors and the rear view camera. Right, time to move into the second row where the standard electric sliding doors that you get on both sides of the vehicle glide back to reveal the enormous seating area. Now, the way it's specified depends, of course, on the seating configuration you've chosen and how you choose to position the provided chairs within it using these floor rails. With a 7-seat model configuration, you get 2 middle seats separated by a fold-out table, along with 3 individual chairs at the very back. Here, though, as you can see, we have the 8-seat cabin, and that will give you 2 rows of 3 abreast rear seating. Now, today we have positioned the 2 rows facing each other, and that's absolutely perfect for on-the-move business conferences and the like. If you have all the rows of seats positioned in conventional forward-facing form, then, as you'd expect in an MPV, the second row chairs will tilt forward to allow access to the very back here. In the third row of a long or extra long V-Class model, there'd be vastly more space than you get in a Galaxy or Charan class conventional large MPV. OK, let's finish with a look at luggage space. Now, before we go lifting this tailgate, worth mentioning that there is the convenience of this separately opening rear glass section if all you want to do is to throw in a few lighter items, or perhaps you don't have the space to open the full hatch. You certainly have to stand back when it comes to activating that. The luggage space you get at this point will, of course, depend on the body length that you've chosen and also on the positioning of the third seating row. Even with the shortest standard length model, there is 610 litres of capacity with all the seats in place. Of course, with the bigger V-Class body styles, there's even more luggage room, 1,030 litres with this mid-range large model and a massive 1,410 litres if you go for the top extra long variant. Of course, if you are able to take the second and third row chairs out, then you basically get yourself a removal van. In standard length form with all the second and third row seats out, a V-Class offers 4,200 litres of space. In extra long guys, in the same configuration, well, you're looking at as much as 5,010 litres of fresh air. This V-Class may occupy something of a forgotten backwater in the Mercedes product range, but it's still a model that makes a lot of sense. In fact, assuming that you can't face budget brand transport and you don't want something that is very obviously a minibus, we'd argue that there really aren't too many alternatives to V-Class motoring if you need to transport up to 8 people in the kind of style to which they would doubtless quickly like to become accustomed. What it all boils down to is that if you want a car, buy a car. If, though, you need a people carrier, buy one that can really do the business. The V-Class is part of a small but very select breed of models answering that calling.